All right. Hi, everybody. This is Z coming to you from NoVa Notes and Awanna Holdings. And today I have my guest, Tanya Brown from Harbor Avenue Group. Or I'm sorry, Avenue Harbor Group. I got to make
That's all right.
Harbor. She's going to kill me. All right. So let's get right into it. So go ahead and get into my disclaimer. Of course, you know that I am not a lawyer. I don't pretend to be a lawyer. I'm not offering any securities or tax advice or other professional advice. Some of my guests may be professionals, tax professionals, lawyers, and things of that nature. So feel free to definitely contact them, as I will put their information up as we go through the presentation. And so just a little bit about myself. I am a retired Navy veteran, also a W-2 federal contracting officer working for the federal government. I have a master's in public administration and a master's in education. I've been investing in real estate informally for a little over 30 years, just from my days in the military and going from duty station to duty station and renting out homes. And I started my business in 2018. And, you know, the focus was supposed to be on fix and flips until I got turned on to mortgage note investing. So we'll get into that a little bit later. But here is how you can get in touch with me. And I'm all over the place, as you can see. I have, of course, Facebook here, Facebook Live. I'm on LinkedIn. You can reach out to me on Instagram, Meetup at NoVa Notes, my webpage, and YouTube. And so one of the other things that we'll get into is basically what is a mortgage note. So I always like to go over this for those of you who never watched or tuned into my webcast. Basically what a note is for those of you who don't know what a mortgage note is. So very simply, a mortgage note is a promissory note that is secured by a mortgage, usually by the bank, and the bank holds your home as collateral for that loan. And I like to kind of distinctify that for people who are in real estate investing. So maybe you might be a flipper or something like that. And people would think that, oh, okay, so buying a note is, you know, like buying the house. And no, it's not. So when you're buying the house, you own the property. So when you're buying a mortgage note, you own the paper, you own the loan, the lien on that property. So that's just to kind of distinctify that. And that's just the basics of it. And of course, we can get into that more as we talk with our guest. She's going to give us some more information. And leading up to that, here's Miss Tanya Brown from Avenue Harbor Group. And here's her information. And I'm going to take this down so that we can actually you know, see each other and listen to each other talk. But if you want to get in touch with Miss Brown, here's her information, her website, email, and her phone number. You can text or call her there. And I'm going to stop sharing now. And Tanya, you can go ahead and thanks for joining us. Hello, let me get into this first before you even go, because Tanya was one of my very first guests when I started NoVa Notes. And of course, you all know that I'm technically challenged. And we went through the whole interview, and guess who didn't hit the record button? Me. So she was gracious enough to join me again here. And I have hit the record button this time. But actually, it's even better because now some time has passed, and I know that Tanya is doing some really great things in the note space. And I'll just let her tell you about her journey. All right, Tanya, go ahead.
Thank you. I appreciate you inviting me back. I was honored to be your first guest. That was awesome. And I think the interview went well. We said some really important things that didn't get recorded.
Leave it to me. One day when I get big in notes, I'm going to get me a whole production crew.
There you go. There you go. Look, it's happened to all of us, especially this year in 2020 and 2021. The phrase is, you're on mute and I forgot to record. So it's happened to us all.
Exactly.
But no, thank you so much. I appreciate you inviting me back.
So tell us about yourself, Tanya. Where you from? How long you been note investing? You know, what brought you to note investing? What you doing now?
Sure. Well, my name is Tanya Brown. I'm from Avenue Harbor Group. I've been investing in notes for almost 2 years now, going on about 3. And I started in, I'm actually from Baltimore, Maryland. Mm-hmm. And I started in real estate investing about maybe 10 years ago. And it wasn't serious like I'm in it now, but it was just more of, you know, I had a rental here and I had a rental there. And then I kind of sold those off because I did them all the wrong way. I sold them to family, and you never rent to your family. And so, yeah, exactly. So I got rid of them, and then I got rid of them. And then I said, well, I kind of took a break from it all. And then I said, it just kept coming back up. You know, I want to get back into real estate. You know, I want my money to work for me. And this is one of the best places to be, to get great returns and enjoy what it is that you're doing, if this is what you enjoy. I know different people say different things about real estate investing, but you know, if being a landlord is what you enjoy doing, or flipping, which isn't exactly investing, but if that's what you enjoy doing, then do it. And I didn't enjoy landlording, maybe because it was my family. And I didn't enjoy wholesaling because that's a lot of work. And flipping is beautiful when you see the prettiness of it all, but I'm not one to be managing contractors and doing all of that. So I was looking for more of the passive side of things. And I went and looked into tax liens. I said, I'll do some tax liens or something. But as I was investigating tax liens, I came across notes. And I was like, what is this note thing about? Everybody kept saying notes, 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 notes. I'm like, what is a note?
So to lead up to all of that, though, you did the flipping and and the wholesaling and the rentals and all of that stuff too.
That's correct. Yes, I did it all. And the reason I did it is because when I was getting back into this whole investing thing, and I really was, you know, delving into it, they told me everything in Maria, the local RIAs and all of these meetups that I was attending, they all said the same thing. Try it all and then see what you like, but at least you have that tool in your toolbox. So if even now I know how to wholesale a property, I know how to flip a property, I know how to do these things, and it's not necessarily what I like to do, but if I have to do it, I at least have that in my toolbox to do.
Right. And well, you know, with note investing, those skills are going to come in handy anyway, because you never know which way a note is going to go, where maybe you have to rent it out, or maybe you have to do a flip on it, or, you know, whatever.
Exactly. And so it kind of just all comes together. So when I got into note investing and I said, I can sit at my house and collect people's mortgages, really? That just intrigued me. I was like, I'm the bank? What? So that's why I was like, okay, I can get into this. And what I found after I got into it was, you know, every day is a new day. You don't have the same thing. It's not repetitive. It's not the same, you know, it's not the same. I'm going to do the same kitchen this way, or I'm going to do it this way. I'm going to go talk to my tenants again. I got to deal with this toilet issue. It was, people do have issues, but it's always something that you can work out. And I always say it, if you're the bank always wins. And yes, you may have to wait a while for that win, but you still get the win and you still get the workout. But I find it exciting. It's something different with every single note. And the reason it's something different is because there's people behind those notes. You know, we don't want to neglect that there's the people out here and they actually own these homes and they own these mortgages. And you want to make sure that you treat them right and that you treat them well, but they all have situations and they all have stories. And sometimes you get to hear those stories and you try to work with them and keep them in their home if that's necessary, you know, but it's just those types of things that I enjoy doing, and it's been great.
Yeah, that's cool. So do you find yourself focusing on a particular sector of notes, be it non-performing, performing, first, seconds, all of it?
I do first position only. So I do not work in seconds, although I keep telling myself I'm going to JV with someone who does seconds so I can at least learn it. And I want to do the non-performing side of a second and see how that works. But no, I only deal in first position. In anything in first position, I'll deal with performing, non-performing, contract for deeds, mortgages. I've even done lease options. So I do it all. I'll work them all.
All right, that's cool. And
Yep.
so speaking of JVing, I know, well, back when we first interviewed, you hadn't JV'd with anyone, or I believe you were just doing them straight on your own. So since that time, I believe you picked up a couple of partners, a JV deal.
I have. I mean, everything has just taken off. You know, it says something when you actually set your goals and set the steps to achieve them and have that vision in front. And I've got it's sitting right behind me. I have it straight down my wall of my vision, and I speak it and I look at it and things start happening, you know, and it really does work, because I know people will say, yeah, they'll do it periodically, but it really does work, because I was one of those people. Yeah. But it does.
Action behind it, though.
Put the action behind it, exactly. And
you
you
goals,
have
but you got to do something to make it happen.
Right, exactly. And you have to have that why. What's motivating you to get there? And for me, it was freedom. It was the freedom to do what I want, when I want, where I want, with whomever I want, the time, and not have to, you know, punch the clock, and not have to say, you know, can I take this leave in order to go here, or can I do that? So that was the motivation. But yeah, since that time, I've gotten about 12 JV partners. My company does work with, thank you. We work with JV partners trying to maximize their returns, and also started a training through the local Mid-Atlantic Real Estate Investing Association, and training people who want to learn more about note investing.
Okay.
And that was one of my peeves too, because I know, like, you know.
Tell us more about that, because we about your training program and what led you to do that.
Sure.
I know, but I want you to tell me.
Sure. Yeah. I was actually just getting myself out there. It was just a matter of networking. And so every meetup I went to, every RIA meeting that I went to, I was just looking, I was telling people I'm a note investor. I'm looking for capital JV partners, anybody who's looking for 10 to 12% return on their investment. And there were a lot of people have retirement accounts, self-directed retirement accounts, that they're just sitting on money and they want to move it and put it somewhere, but they don't always know where. And especially now with the market's very volatile, or they don't understand stocks and don't know how to invest. If you just educate them on the notes, show them the numbers, and tell them what you can do, they'll start sending you the money. I mean, it's not instant, but they will.
You have to build those relationships. Yeah.
Build that relationship, and that's all. And so, yeah, I just started putting myself out there. Every single time I got into a meeting, I would just say, you know, my name is Tanya, and I'm a note investor. And it takes a little bit, because not everybody's comfortable putting themselves out there. Yeah. And it's kind of hard standing in front of a room and telling people that. But I tell you, when you say I'm a note investor, people want your card, and people start calling.
What is it? What is note investing? What does that mean?
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what they say. And so then some people say, you know, I'm sitting on this retirement money. I want to do something with it. You know, what can you do for me? And so I'll start working up some stuff, but I try to educate them a little bit, because a lot of them don't know. Right. So I like to have JV partners that are educated a bit and know something about what they're getting into. I tell them all the risk. I tell them the rewards. I tell them I have not lost money on a deal, which is the truth. I haven't lost money on a deal, but if you do everything correctly, you won't have any problems at all. And so that's the way I got into that. But from that, I was standing up in front of the Mid-Atlantic RIA giving my little spiel. I did it for like 3 or 4 times, and I guess they got tired of me. And they called me up last March, and they said, Tanya, you talk about this note investing stuff. Do you want to come to our discussion group and lead it for a day? I was like, yeah, I'll come out there and do it. So I led the discussion group, and then they said, well, maybe you should teach a course. And so then they got me into the course. So that's how I started teaching the training course.
So are you going to become like a guru now?
I don't like that term. And let me tell you why. Because you and I both know when we got into this, it was always everybody has a training, and everybody has a course, and it's 10, 20, 30, 40, $50,000. And I was like, oh, just give me some information. And, you know, I don't mind paying for information at all, but don't say, okay, I'm gonna give you this much information, and then
Some more.
$10,000 more. Yeah. And then another $10,000 more if you want to know this, you know. And I said, I don't want that. So that's why I was a little hesitant to teach the training, because I was like, I'm not trying to milk people. I'm not trying to do that. I have information, and yes, I know that my time is worth it being paid for, and the resources that I give are worth something, but I'm not trying to milk people. I would much rather they take that money and purchase a note than to go ahead and put it into training on top of training on top of training. So even through that, they priced it reasonably. And I said, that's absolutely fine. And then I offer a coaching session after the fact that I don't upsell. I just say, we enter into a JV partnership. How about that? And you can learn and do it your way. And we can actually purchase a note. I can walk you through it. And then after that, they're on their own. And when I say they're on their own, they still have access to me, and they still have access to resources that I can offer them, and they can pick my brain for whatever. But they won't really need me to help them buy a note anymore, because they've done it. So now they're on their way.
And so when you are JVing with folks, are you, I guess, walking through with them as far as the note to purchase, or are you leaving it to them to, I guess, see, oh, well, you know, I see a note here, you know, maybe we can look at this one. Are you doing the due diligence with them? You going through all of those steps?
All of the above, except for some. Now, I have some JV partners who just want to, they just say, you know, you handle it, Tanya.
They want to truly be passive.
That's it. Yep. They're like, just make sure a check gets in my account every month. And I'm like, okay, that's fine. And then there are some who do want, there are some that do want that training, and they want to be hands-on. So those are the ones, yes, I will walk them through the whole thing. I try to educate them up front, because a couple of people will call me and say, I'm ready to JV, I'm ready to JV. And then they'll say, I want non-performing notes. And then I'll say, okay. And I present a non-performing note, and all of a sudden they get scared, because like, oh my gosh, there's problems with this. And I'm like, yes, that's what a non-performing note is.
So yeah, so some people want to see how the sausage is made, and some people just want the finished stuff.
Exactly. That's it. Yeah. So I kind of gauge just where they are and what they need. And then I'll walk them through. So usually people that will JV with me after the course, I'll walk them through the whole thing, but they have the knowledge and the education to do this on their own. And I have a couple of people who they actually found notes, and they're like, what do I do now? I just walk them through it. And then I bring them inventory also.
Very nice. Very nice. So when you all are doing this, or when you are doing this, I should say, are you investing out of a retirement account yourself, or are you just using cash, capital, your own capital?
Personally, when I purchase my notes for myself, I'm using my retirement account, and I also have an investment account. So I do both. I have cash, and I also have my retirement.
Okay.
And then when I do JVs, it's a full capital JV on their part. They bring the full capital, and I assist them and work through, and I will take a percentage of the principal and interest, or the monthly payment.
Okay.
Or if we have to work it out, then we'll do the workout, and we'll settle on a percentage.
Right. So some people will probably, and I can't ever see the questions if people are asking questions on live. I can see them here on Zoom, but how much is your training program? Is it just based on the amount that the individual is willing to invest, or is there a set price, and what all is included in that?
Right. Well, the training through the RIA is they have a tiered pricing, so you can actually go onto their site and find it. Personally, I just do like $500. It's a 4-day course. It's a 4-day course, but I do it like over 4 weeks, so that there's homework, and they have to work things out, and they have to do things on their own. So I try to space it out, because a lot of people have told me this is a lot of information to unpack, because, you know, you're changing your whole mindset when you're going into this. You're not the landlord, you're not the investor, you're not the consumer, you're the bank. And now you have to actually think like a bank. So when I give them all the information in the first course, they're just like, this is a lot. And even I've even trained some commercial real estate people who just, they're like, oh my goodness, I knew it was out here, but I didn't know it was all of this. So it can be a lot to unpack. So I do 4 classes. And yeah, I just charge the $500, and then we say we can just go into a JV partnership and get you into your first note.
Oh, nice. Very good. Very good. Okay. So I already put up how everybody could contact Tanya. You all can see that in the very beginning of the video it is being recorded. So how have things been for you in regards to the coronavirus, since we're still in that environment? I know,
Yeah.
excuse me, when we interviewed last time, I don't think we were in the coronavirus
I think we were just getting started.
by that time. But well, you already said that you have 12 JV partners, so I guess it's going good.
It's going well. As far as like assets are concerned, because people always ask me, have you had borrowers that have been, affected by Corona? Have the payments stopped? And that's a concern for some people, especially getting into this. And yes, I've had two. I've had two where they were affected by it, and they've actually found other jobs and started paying again. But even with those, it was maybe a 6-month period in which they weren't getting any, I wasn't getting any payments, and that was fine. Then they found other jobs, and now they're trying to start to catch up. So it's really just a matter of waiting it out. The one thing I try to tell people is it's not going to last forever.
Right.
Interest and late fees are still accruing, and it still works out for you.
You'll have collateral back in your
exactly. And if you have to foreclose, you've got the property back if you need to. But right now they're doing well, and I try to be patient because they do communicate. And that's one thing with these borrowers. If they communicate with the servicer or they communicate with me, I'm fine. I have no problems. It's when you start avoiding me that I have an issue.
Yeah. So are all of yours that you've invested in thus far have been non-performing?
I've had a combination. I have a combination of performing and non-performing. Yeah. Actually, one of the first interviews I did, I was on a webinar. This was a few months ago, and they asked everybody, it was 3 of us. And they said, tell us about your first note. And everybody was telling all these little, great stories about the first note. And they're like, Tanya, tell us about your first note. I was like, it was in Ohio, and I purchased it, and they're paying, and they're still paying. That's all I can say. So it was a performing note. And I was like, it's not a sexy story. And they were like, those are the sexy ones.
Say, trust me, that is a sexy one.
But no, I have a combination of performing and non-performing right now.
So I'm curious to know, for your non-performing ones, have you had any of your borrowers reach out to get assistance from the state or their counties? I know a lot of the states have these funds available for borrowers who have been impacted by COVID-19. So in turn, that would definitely benefit you as as the lender, because then it's able to at least pay you some portion.
It does. And the servicer sent out information for those specific states that there was information or the states were helping, and that's fine. But honestly, the non-performing notes I have were not affected by COVID. And so I said, I feel for you.
Yeah.
But this was happening long before COVID.
Yeah.
And you were a problem borrower beforehand.
Right.
And I saw it in your file, and that's why I grabbed it. For example, I just purchased one. It was a few weeks ago, maybe it was last month. And the borrower he purchased the house in 1999. He claimed bankruptcy like in 2005 or something like that. But he has had problems making payments since 1999. Wow. Yeah. And so I purchased the note, and I purchased it for like $12,000. When I got all the paperwork and everything, this guy, just to catch up, the unpaid principal balance that's owed on the loan is $19,000. And I think his interest rate is like at 13%. And he has had a problem. And his interest is, the only thing he has to pay is I think it's like $328 a month for his mortgage. And so he's been struggling with that since 1999. And he still owes $20,000 on that note since 1999. And now he's behind because he could not work. But for 8 months out of 2020, he could only work because of some other health issues. It had nothing to do with that. But I'm seeing the pattern. I'm like, well, you were having trouble, paying before you started having the health issues. But I paid $12,000 for the note. He owes $6,000 just to catch up. So he owes me $6,000 just to catch up, which is half of what I paid for the note, and still owes me the $19,000 in the monthly payments. In the unpaid principal balance. So I'm thinking, he's going to be paying for my grandkids to go to college. And I don't even have kids, so he's going to be paying for a long time.
you know, the purpose or the why for most investors, most note investors, is to help the homeowners, help the borrowers stay in their homes and work with them. So is this not an instance where you might want to consider modifying the terms of the loan a
Exactly.
little better, or maybe not, because he's been having so much trouble even paying the
Right.
$300 a
And
month?
so what I like about the guy is that he did call and he has been responsive. I did send out a hardship package just to find out what is the issue and you know what's going on. I'm more, and he has said I want to keep my house. So that's the first thing. That's the first thing I wanted to hear. I want to keep my house. Then you'll do anything that you need to do in order to keep it. So yes, I'm going to find out, you know, what are the financials, what are the issues, what can you do, and then try and keep him in his house. But with that said, he's going to have to start paying on time, and whatever it is you can agree upon to pay it and pay it on time, not have me call you every other month and say, where's your payment? I need you to pay it on time.
Okay. All right. So I got a couple of questions in the chat.
Sure.
First one, well, you already discussed it. It is, what's the fee for your coaching program? And say someone who has already had formal training but may need access to consistent coaching.
Mm-hmm. When you say consistent coaching, are you looking to do the JV partnership? Are you looking
So
to?
maybe they took a training where
Mm-hmm.
it just offered the training, and maybe they didn't get the coaching that
Mm-hmm.
went along with the training. I'm guessing, is that what you're saying? Can you clarify a little bit for me on that question? Yeah, so she said, yeah. So this person has, excuse me, already had a training in
Okay.
notes, but maybe she feels like she needs a little more hand holding and coaching. I'm
Mm-hmm.
guessing that she's asking, would the fee for your coaching program be the same? And, you know, would you
You know,
be,
give me a call. We can talk. Let me see what you, just the specifics that you need,
okay,
and we
so
can work that
reach
out.
out
Yeah.
to her. Like I said, her information I put up there in the very beginning of the webinar. And yes, feel free to reach out to Tanya. Okay, so here's a question you may or may not be able to answer. This might be an attorney question. So what happens to notes that are owned by someone who ends up passing away after you acquire the note?
After you acquire the
So you
note,
bought a note
you
and
bought a
the
note.
borrower ends up passing away. What happens to the note?
Well, the note's still yours. And it depends because the family can step in and continue to pay it, or if it was in one person's name, like the spouse's name, and then the other spouse is still living, they will continue to pay it. Sometimes you'll see instances where the family just lets it go. And if that's the case, you can either take the property back and you can do like whoever owns the estate or whoever has gone through that, because they'll go through the whole probate process and all of that other stuff. And if, especially if they don't have a trust in place, and you have to work through that probate. But it depends on who gets the property, they will still owe you. So you're still in control and you're still in first position, but it'll just have to go through that process.
Long part. So again, with notes, a lot of time, 99% of the time, especially for non-performing notes, it's all about time. Things take time. Foreclosure proceedings have
Mm-hmm.
timelines, different timelines, depending upon the state that you're in. If it's going through a probate process, oh man, it's so many different timelines tied to things. And now I wonder how, I don't know, Tanya, if you've attempted to foreclose on anybody since we've been in the COVID process with all the moratoriums and delays with everything. How's that been affecting you?
Yeah, I haven't even bothered with it right now. Yeah, I did have one that it was a lease option and I started to evict, but I didn't even have to go through the process. They just walked out. But I was in my rights to evict because they were not affected by COVID. They were actually paying, but they were out of their lease option, and I asked them if they would like to, would you like to buy it? And they were like, no, but they were still in there. And I was like, okay, I don't want this rental situation going on. And either you go forth and purchase it. And I offered seller financing to them. And then they said, no, we're not going to take the seller financing. So I was like, okay, that's fine. But outside of that, I haven't really dealt with it because I know that they have these moratoriums in place.
Right.
If it's, and I just wait for them to expire or do what have you. But no, I'm not that in that position too much right now.
I had a similar situation for my note in my lease option rather in Massachusetts, and the borrowers were evicted. They were already evicted right when I bought the note, and they were still kind of squatting there in the house,
Mm-hmm.
and ended up having to get the sheriff out there to remove them. And thank goodness that he did. I didn't have to go through
Have
the
you
court.
told that story? Because I love that story.
Oh my
And I love the
God.
numbers on that story.
That's for another show. Your time,
Let me know when.
All right. Oh, let's see. I have another question here. And it says, how does an investor know local and state law to scale your business? Ohio, California require real estate license when I don't know when there's a transaction on transactions. So how does one know the condition of the interior as older homes have toxic asbestos? What is the percentage of industry sector of category making this is so hard? Can you unmute yourself and ask this question? Can you unmute yourself? Let me see if I can unmute her.
Okay.
There you go, because that's hard.
Time because we have senior moments. So, you're an individual investor. How do you know the legal laws of each locality? Because it differs, and you might get yourself in some infraction.
Yeah, well, two things. One, you're not representing yourself as the individual investor. You have the entity and you also have the servicer that operates on your behalf. Now, I know you said that you have Ohio and California. They are now requiring these licenses, and a whole lot of them. I think Kentucky and a lot of people are moving toward that, and that's something that we're going to have to deal with. And we have to figure, I think if you're doing like one or two, it's fine. It's when you start getting those multiples that they start questioning and wondering what's happening. As far as knowing the laws of the states, and they all differ, and it's just a matter of educating yourself. Going to these meetups and I'm in a bunch of mastermind groups and finding it out and learning it. So it's really just knowing that information and trying to stay on top of it. And when you're investigating or when you're doing your due diligence or looking at a certain note or property, you just want to make sure that you know those laws going in before you even step foot in them. A lot of them I do know just because I'm investing there, but I don't know them all. No, it's a lot.
And the other part of your question in regards to the employment and how to know, like if you want a performing note for 7 or more years, how do you know, if that industry is going to be sustainable? And one of the ways, like Tanya just said, is in the due diligence phase. That's where you're going to be looking at the market that you're buying in. That's where you're going to be looking at the population. That's where you're going to be looking at what kind of job growth they have. That's where you're going to be looking at the salaries and the job industries in that area. So that's when you'll kind of know whether or not that'll be a good area or not for you to invest in.
And you also asked about competing. Is it more so competing with institutional banks?
Oh, that was similar to the first question about your individual investor. What are the affordable ways for you to know all 50 states? And
oh, okay, yeah, it's a lot.
Like prepaid legal or legal shield or banks have a full-time attorney legal staff and accountants, and you are just a one person.
Yeah, let me tell you something about legal and attorneys. You do not want to just use any attorney. I'm getting ready to do a blog on this. As a matter of fact, all attorneys are not created equal.
They are not.
Just because it's a real estate attorney does not mean that attorney is versed in mortgage note investing. You want to make sure that you network and get to know some people who know other attorneys that are versed in mortgage note investing in particular. I ran into this problem just recently with a note that I have and is having major title issues, and spent a few months with an attorney that is a real estate attorney, but had no clue how to, cure my title issues. And now I had to, go back to my network of note investors, which is what I should have done in the first place. But to go back and get a new attorney who is experienced with note investing and the issues that come with note investing. So yeah, I would not suggest that you use like Legal Shield or some generic law firm to represent you in your mortgage note investing. Yeah, that's that. All right, and then here's another.
Similar to back to the business side of economics of the metropolitan. Are there any opportunities in the Rust Belt? Because it's so volatile and the industries are so not diverse.
When you say, are there opportunities? Meaning, are there
There's opportunities everywhere.
Yeah, they're everywhere.
I've got to live in a house.
They are everywhere, yes. And so, yeah, they're all over the place. And I've invested all over the place. South Dakota, Nebraska, Georgia.
A lot of places.
Yeah, all over. If there's houses there, there's opportunity. And now we're looking at a big wave. Everybody's expecting this big wave to come through, and they're going to be of non-performing notes once these foreclosures and these moratoriums lift up and people start going into foreclosure, or even these jobs start slowly trying to come back, and people are going to be racing, and you're going to start seeing these banks and hedge funds trying to sell off a whole lot of this inventory.
We hope. So here's another question for you. What type of asset sector are you focusing on? For instance, are you focusing on residential mortgages only, land, or commercial?
I'm focusing on residential. That's my focus, but I have received a few commercial items from a couple of local and community banks to help move, so warehouses, churches. If anybody knows anybody that wants a church, let me know, because that seems to be the hardest thing to get off of you. But other than that, yes, I mainly focus on residential.
Yeah. All right, great. Okay, so it looks like that was the last question. So maybe I'll share the screen again, Tanya, and put your information back up here so that people can get in contact with her. All right, so here's Tanya's information. So be sure to get in contact with her so she can talk to you about her program, her training program, coaching program, potential joint ventures, and any other information that you want. And I may as well put mine back up there too. All right, and then that's how you get in touch with me. I'm all over the interwebs, as they say. All right, okay. So Tanya, hey, thank you again.
Thank you
so much for taking the time to join me and chit chat with me again. And that's it, folks.
Thank you. Thank you all so much. If you need anything, have any questions, feel free to reach out to Z. No, I'm kidding. You can reach out to me. You can reach out to me. I'm glad to answer and help you with any questions or concerns. Thank you. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thanks, Tanya. All right, everybody. Thank you all for joining us. All right. Have a good night. All right. Bye-bye.